If I could do it over, I would give up on saving my boyfriend. Cruz when was trapped in the burning apartment. I suffered extensive burns all over my body trying to save him. He was so moved that he told me he would love me forever, so we got married. In the 3rd year of marriage, I died from a severe infection. Before taking my last breath, I took one final look at Cruz when and noticed he was visibly relieved. A slender, delicate hand rested on his shoulder. Cruz, you've endured 3 years of hardship for her, marrying someone neither human nor ghost. You've done more than enough. Don't be sad anymore. Cruz when held that hand and sighed. Alas, perhaps this was her fate. These 3 years have been hard on you. Once again, I opened my eyes and found myself back 2 days before the fire occurred. This time, I chose to respect his fate and let him be with his first love. In the KTV private room, Cruz Wen's friend was belting out Love Till Death. At the top of his lungs, everyone around was laughing and joking non-stop. The air conditioning in the private room was too strong, and I couldn't help but shiver. I lowered my head to examine my smooth, unscathed hands. Not a single finger missing, no ugly scars. Then I quickly took out my phone and turned it on. May 18th, 2022, 2 days before the fire. I reached out and touched my face. How wonderful. I hadn't yet become someone I couldn't bear to look at. Cruz Wen, who had been busy taking care of his ex-girlfriend Rhea when beside him, finally noticed me. He frowned at me, leaned close to my ear, and warned, "What's wrong with you? Why are you crying when we're out having fun? It's not because of Rhea, is it? I told you in advance." Rhea sprained her wrist while helping me carry something. "So I'm just getting her water and fruit. Don't give her a dirty look. Rhea is a sensitive girl. If you act like this, she'll feel too awkward to accept my help today." I looked up at Cruz Wen, handsome with a youthful charm. No wonder I fell in love with him back then. Now, he shows none of the weariness that came after our marriage. His eyes are filled only with intense emotion. It's a pity that this fervent feeling isn't directed at me. I hadn't even spoken, just made a slight change in expression. And Cruz Wen was already worried that Rhea Wen might be hurt. It's laughable how, in my past life, love blinded me to the truth of his heart. Seeing that I remained silent, Cruz Wen reached out impatiently to wipe away my tears. "All right, stop making a scene. Which one do you want to eat? I'll get it for you." "Okay." His hand was rough, and I could feel a stinging pain on my skin. The pain instantly stirred up those agonizing memories, and I reflexively flinched backward. Cruz Wen's hand froze awkwardly in midair. At that moment, Rhea Wen pitifully moved closer. "Sister Lyra, are you upset because of me? What happened between me and Brother Cruz? It's all in the past, if you mind." She bit her lower lip, glanced reluctantly at Cruz Wen, and then shed a tear. Then I. Before she could finish her words, Rhea Wen choked up and couldn't speak any further. Cruz Wen, feeling a pang of sympathy, wrapped his arm around her shoulder and gently wiped away her tears, a stark contrast to the rough way he had just wiped mine. "What nonsense are you talking? There's nothing improper between us. There's nothing wrong with interacting openly. There's no need to avoid it." Then, Cruz Wen turned to glare at me and said in a commanding tone, "Lyra Bai, apologized to Rhea." "Yes, my name is Lyra Bai, similar to Rhea Wen's name, and not only that, but our appearances are somewhat alike as well." Thinking back to the scene before my death in my previous life, when I saw Rhea Wen and Cruz Wen hugging and kissing each other, I couldn't help but wonder. During the rare intimate moments in my past life, was the name Chuyu that Cruz Wen called out actually Rhea Wen? Did he see me as a substitute for Rhea Wen? At this thought, I couldn't help but feel a wave of nausea. My dry heave instantly darkened Cruz Wen's face. "Lyra Bai, what do you mean by that?" Rhea Wen's expression also turned even uglier. She reached out and lightly pushed Cruz Wen's arm, which was wrapped around her, but he only held her tighter, her cheeks flushed. Yet her eyes held an unmistakable sense of triumph. "Sister Lyra, please don't be like this. Cruz and I really have nothing going on. Rhea Wen, Cruz Wen, and I were all classmates in the same grade, but she started school a year earlier, so she's a year younger than us. However, there were also classmates who were 2 or 3 years younger than us, and I've never seen them going around calling everyone older siblings." I swallowed the disgust in my throat and said coldly, "Don't try to claim kinship so casually, and whether or not the two of you have any real connection, you know it in your hearts. No need to put on an act in front of me." Hearing this, Rhea Wen's eyes immediately reddened. She reached out and pushed Cruz Wen, saying, "Stay away from me." I don't want people gossiping behind my back. Cruz Wen's eyebrows furrowed into a deep frown. He wrapped his arm around Rhea Wen and held her firmly, not moving an inch. As if he were her boyfriend shielding her in his embrace, he looked at me with a cold expression. Lyra Bai, must you be so unreasonable today? Rhea has been accommodating you again and again, taking your feelings into consideration, and yet you deliberately target her. Do you not know how important a girl's reputation is? What do you mean by saying that? Or do you think that just because we're in a relationship, I can't have any friends of the opposite sex? Don't tarnish our relationship with your filthy thoughts. At this moment, Cruz Wen's friends also stopped singing and looked at me with unfriendly eyes. Not to be rude, Lyra Bai, but you're being a bit too much. It's only because Cruz has a good temper that he can put up with you. Exactly. Rhea and we have been friends for 7 years. We met in our first year of high school. Just because you're dating Cruz doesn't mean you can stop Rhea from hanging out with us, right? You knew about their past before you started dating Cruz. It's pointless to keep getting angry about it now. Cruz's friends had been very dissatisfied with me in their past lives. I only found out when I accidentally overheard them complaining about me to Cruz. At that time, I was severely burned all over my body and disfigured, so I didn't like going out or seeing people. But Cruz Wen, disregarding my wishes, called his friends over to drink at home. Through the crack in the door that wasn't fully closed, I heard the sounds of Cruz Wen and his friends smoking and drinking. Someone mentioned Rhea Wen, and then they started to belittle me. Cruz, I really feel sorry for you. You're so outstanding, yet you ended up marrying someone so dreadful. You and Rhea are such a perfect match. Wen and Wen, even your surnames go so well together. Honestly, I think Rhea got divorced because of you. She often asks us privately how you're doing now. I can tell she still loves you. You don't actually plan to spend the rest of your life with Lyra Bai, do you? That face. Waking up to it in the morning would be a nightmare. By then, 3 years had passed since I was burned. I had undergone countless painful reconstructive surgeries, yet my face remained a horrifying sight. Using my left hand, missing 3 fingers, I touched my rough, uneven face and quietly waited for Cruz Wen's response. Cruz Wen was silent for a long time. The living room was unusually quiet. I could even hear the sound of him flicking cigarette ash. Finally, he sighed and said, "After all, she saved me." Cruz Wen's friend immediately retorted, "But do you have to repay her with your whole life? You could just give her money for skin grafts and cosmetic surgery. There's no need to sacrifice your entire life for it. Every time I see the way Rhea looks at you, I feel like you're making a mistake. It's such a shame. You'll never meet another woman who loves you as much as she does. Didn't you initially get involved with Lyra Bai because she looked like Rhea?" Hearing this, my breath caught sharply, and my heart ached intensely. Was I just a substitute for Rhea Wen? Now that her face is burned like this, there's not a trace of Rhea left. If anything, the only similarity is that their names sound a bit alike. I really didn't expect that after Rhea found a boyfriend, Cruz would turn around and bring back a Rhea too. It really shocked me. She's insulting Rhea. How is she worthy of the 2-0 title? She isn't even fit to be compared to Rhea's toenails. Cruz Wen's friends judged me from head to toe right in front of him. But Cruz Wen acted as if he didn't hear a thing, just silently smoking. I felt as if my heart had shattered into pieces, just when I thought this was the peak of my pain. I heard an even more unbearable truth. Alright, don't go too far with your words. After all, Lyra Bai did save Cruz. If Rhea hadn't gotten drunk and gone to Cruz's apartment, causing the fire, Lyra Bai wouldn't have gotten so badly burned trying to save Cruz. Are you blaming Rhea? That's not what I meant. But you have to admit, if Rhea hadn't gotten drunk, threatening Cruz with a bottle and a lighter to get back together immediately, the apartment wouldn't have caught fire. Enough. Cruz Wen's impatient voice cut in. What's the point of saying all this now? Come on, let's drink. Tonight, we won't stop until we're drunk. I felt as if I had been plunged into an ice cellar. So, my 3 years of hellish life, the real, bone-deep pain, was all just because of these 2 lovebirds and their reconciliation game. From the unrestrained chatter of these drunkards that followed, I pieced together the truth of the matter. Rhea Wen and Cruz Wen had been dating for a year when she dumped Cruz Wen for a senior who had been pursuing her all along. Feeling humiliated after being dumped, Cruz Wen immediately turned his attention to me. At the time, I was moved by Cruz Wen's sincerity in pursuing me, so I agreed to be with him. Cruz Wen, who is available to date others, once again stirred Ria Wen's desire to conquer him, so she immediately broke up with her senior and turned her attention back to Cruz Wen. Flirting with him, Cruz Wen was afraid that if he agreed to be with Ria Wen, she would abandon him again, so he used me to keep Ria Wen hooked, making sure her heart and mind were fixated on him. Ria Wen was furious that Cruz Wen refused to break up with me, so on May 20th, she got heavily drunk and went to find Cruz Wen. She threatened him with a bottle of alcohol and a lighter, saying that if he refused to get back together with her, she would set the bottle on fire right in front of him. Unexpectedly, after being knocked to the ground by the flustered Cruz Wen, the lighter suddenly exploded and actually ignited the spilled alcohol all over the floor. The two, who were holding each other, didn't notice at first until the fire got out of control, and they hurriedly called 119 to put it out. Coincidentally, I arrived at that moment with a carefully prepared 520 gift for Cruz Wen. After discovering his apartment was on fire, I first called the firefighters. Then wrapped myself in a wet blanket, grabbed a fire extinguisher, and rushed in to save Cruz Wen. When I found Cruz Wen, he and Ria Wen had already escaped to the stairs on the second floor. I didn't have time to ask why Ria Wen was here, just busy using the fire extinguisher to clear a path for them. Cruz Wen took the fire extinguisher from me, saying he would lead the way, with Ria Wen following him, and since I had a blanket, I should cover the rear. But when we reached the first floor lobby, the ceiling suddenly cracked and collapsed, and the fire from the second floor came crashing down with it. Cruz Wen, who was walking at the front, was most likely to be hit. Ria Wen screamed and dodged to the side, leaving only Cruz Wen, who hadn't noticed what was happening, still moving forward. So I rushed forward, disregarding my own safety, pushed him away, but ended up getting hit myself. When I woke up, I was already in the hospital. Cruz Wen sat by my bedside with reddened eyes, saying with deep affection that he loved me and would take care of me for the rest of my life. After being discharged from the hospital, we got married. We only registered our marriage without having a wedding, because I didn't want to see anyone. Cruz Wen nodded without hesitation and agreed. 3 years into our marriage, aside from going to the hospital for treatment, I never once stepped out of the house. Cruz Wen was initially patient with me, but later he started using business dinners and work trips as excuses to not come home at night. That fire not only left me with severe burns all over my body but also cost me my right hand. The remaining hand has only 2 fingers left, making it difficult for me to complete tasks that others find simple, such as bathing or cooking. Without help, Cruz Wen had originally hired a nanny to take care of me, but when Ria Wen came to visit our home and was frightened by my appearance, he made an excuse to dismiss the nanny. At the time, he claimed that the nanny was disrespectful to Ria Wen and expressed concern that she might be two-faced, worrying that she wouldn't take good care of me behind his back, so he let her go. He said he would find me a more suitable nanny, but until I died, I never saw him arrange for anyone to take care of me. Now that I think about it, it must be because my appearance frightened Ria Wen, so he deliberately fired the nanny to get back at me. If someone had taken care of me, perhaps I wouldn't have died from a severe infection. I hadn't seen Cruz Wen for half a year before my death. It wasn't until I mustered the last of my strength to call 120 that he came to the hospital to see me one last time. After being notified by the hospital, looking at me lying on the hospital bed, barely alive, Cruz Wen visibly breathed a sigh of relief. "You saved me. I married you. We're even now. Lyra, you had a tough life this time. I hope you'll have a better fate in your next life." Ria Wen came to the hospital with him. She wrapped her arm around Cruz Wen's shoulder, looking at him with heartache. "Cruz, you've sacrificed for her for 3 years, marrying such a half-human, half-ghost woman. You've done more than enough. Don't be sad anymore. Because of her, we had to keep our relationship secret for 3 years, unable to go public. Those who don't know the truth probably thought I was the other woman. Ria Wen is something else. She got married the same year as us, just got divorced last year. And yet she's been secretly dating Cruz Wen for 3 years. Both of them are habitual scumbags." Cruz Wen reached out and hugged Ria Wen, his eyes full of pity. "You've suffered. I'll make it up to you from now on. I haven't even breathed my last." And the two of them are already hugging and kissing right in front of my bed. I'm so furious I could grab a knife and slash them. My fate in this life has been unfortunate, and the worst part is having met those 2 despicable people. In the end, I feel like I was literally angered to death by the two of them. At this thought, the hatred in my eyes grew even stronger. I stood up directly, picked up the wine glass beside me, and splashed it on Cruz Wen's face. Cruz Wen, are you dead or what? Your friends are important, so your girlfriend can just be casually accused and insulted, right? I think anyone who becomes your girlfriend is just cursed for 8 lifetimes. We're breaking up. Pay back the 500,000 yuan you borrowed from me immediately. Last month, Cruz Wen said he wanted to start a business and borrowed the 500,000 yuan I had saved up from writing novels since high school. He promised that if his business succeeded, he would give me some shares, but in my previous life, when he actually succeeded in his business, he never mentioned it again. Even my later medical and living expenses were covered by the subsequent income from my novels. But that money wasn't enough to hire a caregiver for me. When I mentioned the money, Cruz Wen, who had seemed indifferent about the breakup just moments before, immediately darkened his expression. Lyra Bai. My patience has its limits, Rhea Wen accused. Lyra Bai, don't you know that using money to control a man is the stupidest thing? Cruz is your boyfriend, and you're not giving him any face in front of all these people. You're going too far. Cruz Wen's friend also started to accuse me. Lyra Bai, do you have a heart? Cruz has been so good to you, and you actually embarrassed him in public. Exactly. I'm starting to doubt if you really love Cruz. I cut them off directly. Good to me. Give me one example. An eerie silence fell over the private room. I sneered. Can't come up with any. Don't you feel guilty when you say he loves me? Since you're all so eager to defend Cruz Wen, I'm sure you'd be happy to pay back the 500,000 yuan on his behalf, right? At the mention of money, everyone fell even more silent. Only Rhea Wen's eyes were filled with resentment toward me. Who in a relationship keeps talking about money all the time? Lyra Bai. You gave Cruz the money willingly back then. Now that it's all invested in the company, you're asking for it back. Isn't that just making things difficult on purpose? Cruz Wen sighed along. I know you've been wrong today. Let me apologize on everyone's behalf. Okay, they just spoke out of turn in the heat of the moment. Cruz Wen stood up and took my hand, pulling me back to sit on the sofa. Don't you like pistachios? Sit still, and I'll peel them for you, okay? I didn't resist and obediently sat down, eating the pistachios Cruz Wen fed me while smugly glancing at Rhea Wen. It suddenly occurred to me, if I break up with Cruz Wen now, will the fire still happen the day after tomorrow? I need to make sure that fire happens as scheduled. I want Cruz Wen to experience the suffering I endured in my past life. So now, not only can I not break up with Cruz Wen, but I also need to provoke Rhea Wen into going to the apartment to find Cruz Wen again. Rhea Wen's face immediately darkened. She stood up, wiped her tears, and ran off. Cruz Wen immediately stood up, wanting to chase after her. I coughed and looked at him coldly. Where do you think you're going? Cruz Wen anxiously looked toward the door but didn't dare to take another step forward. Rhea is sensitive. I'm afraid something might happen to her. I nodded indifferently. Fine. Go ahead and chase after her, but before you step out that door, pay me back the money. Once we break up and settle our accounts, you can chase whoever you want. Money, 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 money. Cruz Wen exploded. Is money all you care about? I never realized before that you were such a materialistic woman. Cruz Wen looked at me with disappointment. You've changed. You weren't this materialistic before. Now every word out of your mouth is about money. I didn't accept Cruz Wen's manipulation at all. Haven't you changed too? The man who once claimed he wanted to start his own business now wants to live off someone else. When you were pursuing me, you said you'd only love me and keep your distance from other women. But what happened? I've never seen a boyfriend who would abandon his girlfriend to take care of his so-called girlfriend. When I initially scolded Cruz Wen for being a kept man, his face turned frighteningly dark. But when I brought up again how he takes care of Rhea Wen, his anger was instantly replaced by pride. He thought I was just being unreasonable out of jealousy. Cruz Wen looked at me helplessly and said, Lyra, how many times do I have to explain? Rhea and I have a sibling-like relationship. Please stop being so jealous. Okay, I can't break up with Cruz Wen just yet. So I took the opportunity to back down and muttered, fine, I'll believe you one more time. Cruz Wen's eyes grew even more proud. Let me take you back to school first, he said. We are now seniors, with just 1 month left until graduation. I originally planned to use this 500,000 yuan after graduation to decide on a place to buy a house based on where I work, so I'm still living in the dormitory. After we left the private room, through the slightly ajar door, I heard the previously silent room start criticizing me again. TSK, she was just talking so righteously a moment ago, but with one word from Cruz, she fell right in line, didn't she, with her personality? She's bound to get dumped sooner or later. Rhea is so gentle and sweet. She's so much more lovable, not a shred of backbone, probably every bone in their body is weak. They knew I could hear them, they were deliberately saying it for me to hear. I could hear it, and of course, Cruz when beside me could hear it too. But he acted as if he didn't, just walking ahead on his own. After taking me back to the dorm, Cruz when turned and left immediately, probably in a hurry to find Rhea when, in the middle of the night, my phone received a photo from Rhea when of Cruz when lying shirtless on a hotel bed. Soon after, Rhea when deleted it. She wouldn't let this tarnish the innocent, harmless image she had so carefully crafted. But I couldn't care less about all this. After all, she won't be around much longer anyway. To provoke her, on the 19th, I deliberately clung to Cruz when, making him run errands for me, feed me, and then I shot a triumphant look at Rhea when, who had been following us around. Even if Cruz when could tell I was doing it on purpose, he still enjoyed watching two women fight over him. Especially since my actions could make Rhea when even more dependent on him. As a result, he became completely indulgent toward me. I held on to Cruz when's arm and cooed, "Cruz, tomorrow is May 20th. How about we spend it at your place? You can prepare a romantic candlelit dinner for just the two of us, and I'll give you a big gift." After saying that, I winked at Cruz when, Rhea when, who was sitting nearby, looked utterly furious and practically spat out the words through gritted teeth, "Shameless." I looked up at her with feigned confusion. "What did you say?" Rhea when curled her lips. "I said you two have such a great relationship." I smiled and accepted Rhea when's compliment. "Rhea, you should also not give up on love just because you met a scumbag. It's time for you to find a boyfriend too." As soon as I said this, Cruz when was the first to object. "Rhea is still young. There's no rush. Don't give her bad advice." Rhea when smiled sweetly upon hearing Cruz when say that. I watched the two of them exchanging flirtatious glances coldly, hoping only that they would still be able to smile after tomorrow night. On the day of May 20th, I stuck to Cruz when like glue. Not leaving his side for a moment, I could tell that as the evening drew closer, Cruz when grew more and more anxious, probably trying to come up with an excuse to get rid of me. So, I set an alarm, pretending I had something to do, and left on my own. I hid not far from Cruz when's apartment and finally felt relieved when I saw Rhea when going in with alcohol. This accident wouldn't change just because I was reborn, since Cruz when was starting a business. He rented an apartment in a 3-story old building over 30 years old, located far in the suburbs, but it was very close to the factory he intended to rent. Because the rent was cheap, Cruz when directly rented all 6 units in the entire building to use as employee dormitories. At the time of the fire, his employees were working overtime at the factory and hadn't returned yet, so in that previous life's fire, I was the only victim. I didn't see anyone else enter the apartment until Cruz when's room caught fire, and I finally breathed a sigh of relief. I wanted Cruz when to return to the fate he was meant to follow, but I didn't want to cause suffering to others, this time, without my help. Cruz when was sent to the hospital with severe burns all over his body. Just like in my previous life, he lost his right hand and 3 fingers on his left hand. Cruz when's friend came to find me, pointing at my nose and angrily shouting, "Lyra Bai, have you no conscience? Cruz is lying injured in the hospital, and you haven't even gone to see him." "Lyra Bai, I never expected you to be this kind of person. When Cruz was fine, you clung to him, but now that he's hurt, you're keeping your distance." I let out a scornful laugh. "So Cruz when gets hurt and suddenly remembers me. Weren't you all saying I wasn't good enough for him before? Why not go find Rhea when? Didn't you say she and Cruz when were a match made in heaven? What? Now that Cruz when is disfigured and disabled, the kind and innocent Rhea is going to abandon him. When Cruz when and I were together, the pure and innocent Rhea always had time to follow us around. Surely she isn't suddenly too busy now that he's injured." My words left them speechless. They could only mutter, "You're ruthless." Before turning and walking away, I snorted coldly, ignoring the onlooking classmates who were whispering about me, and left the place as well. These opportunistic scoundrels still want to morally blackmail me. What a bunch of sycophantic scum. Don't be fooled by their righteous defense of Cruz when now, the moment they see him truly down and out, they'll be the first to turn on him. Still, I went to the hospital, not to see Cruz but to collect a debt. Cruz was wrapped in bandages from head to toe, his eyes dull as he stared at the ceiling. When he saw me arrive, a spark finally lit up in his eyes. "Lyra, you're finally here. I've been waiting for you for so long." I had no patience to listen to his weak, fragmented ramblings. The familiar, pungent smell of medicine triggered phantom pains in my body, making me irritable. I cut him off directly. "You waited for me. What for? Shouldn't you be expecting Reborn to take care of you? After all, you spent your 520 night with Reborn." Cruz's pupils trembled in shock. "You saw that. Rear came to get back together, but I didn't agree." Holding her and making out on the windowsill doesn't count as agreeing. I wouldn't dare listen to such nonsense even if you dared say it. I grew increasingly impatient. "Enough, stop with the pointless talk, return my 500,000, and we're done. Do whatever you want after that." Cruz looked hurt and pained. "They told me before that you only stick around for the good times and abandon people in hardship. I didn't believe it, but now, as soon as I get injured, you can't wait to break up." "Stop," I glared at him coldly. "Don't try to guilt-trip me. It won't work, just give me my money back." Cruz let out a pained groan. Then his expression shifted. He looked at himself in surprise, then stared at me in shock. "Lyra, where are your scars? How is your hand healed? Why am I the one lying in the hospital bed?" Cruz has also been reborn. I laughed, feeling the phantom pains on my body begin to ease. "Why shouldn't it be you? You betrayed me and met Reborn in the apartment. This is your fate." Cruz was incredulous. "But, didn't you push me away?" Then his eyes widened. "You've been reborn too." I curled my lips. "Did the fire burn your brain? What nonsense are you talking, rebirth or not? Don't think you can play dumb to avoid paying back the money." Cruz doesn't know yet that the most painful part isn't just the pain of waking up in the hospital, but also the disappointment after each failed treatment. The strange looks from others, and the helplessness of not being able to do even the simplest things in life. I hope he savors each and every one of these experiences. Cruz still refuses to believe I could be so heartless. "I'm still in the hospital, and you're asking me for money. In our past life, when you were burned, I married you." I frowned. "Have you lost your mind from the fever? What do you mean by past life? If you don't pay me back, I'll call all your friends and family and have them pool the money to repay me. I'll pay for my son." Cruz's parents, who had just arrived, glared at me with disgust after hearing what I said. "How much is it? I'll pay it back. I told you long ago. This kind of woman is rotten to the core. You didn't believe me and insisted on dating her." I didn't care at all about what Cruz's parents thought of me. They had disliked me in the past life too, firmly opposing Cruz's decision to marry me. After the wedding, whenever the slightest thing went wrong, they would come and take their anger out on me. I just want to get my money back now. Cruz's mom transferred me 500,000, and I returned the IOU that I had Cruz write a couple of days ago to them, after leaving the hospital. I stopped paying attention to Cruz's matters, but some classmates would deliberately bring him up in front of me. So I knew that Cruz married Reborn after he was discharged from the hospital. Speaking of this, someone in the crowd looked at me with disdain and loudly praised Reborn's kindness and the sacred love between them. I didn't care about any of this at all. Once I got my graduation certificate, I would leave this city and have no further contact with them. Let them think whatever they want. Half a year later, I suddenly saw news about Cruz's and Reborn again. Reborn's face was pixelated, but I still recognized her at a glance. With large splatters of blood staining her clothes, she screamed at the top of her lungs. "He forced me to do it. He forced me to kill him." Every day he cried out in pain, hitting and cursing me, saying all the suffering was my fault. He even tried to set me on fire. He wanted to turn me into a monster like him. I had no choice. I had to kill him first. Cruz's mother was being held back, desperately trying to rush forward to attack Reborn, shouting, "Give me back my son, you poisonous woman. Give me back my son." After Reborn was imprisoned, it was revealed by netizens that there was more to the story. It is said that Reborn had affairs with Cruz's friends. After being discovered, they conspired to silence her. but unexpectedly. Cruz Wen's parents arrived unexpectedly and witnessed the scene. I stretched lazily and looked out the window at the bright, sunny weather, wondering if I should invite some friends for a hot pot meal to celebrate. The end. That's all for the first story. Don't go away. The next one is even more exciting. My husband is as indifferent as a chrysanthemum. My parents used their connections to find him a job, but he lashed out, condemning bureaucracy for harming society. He couldn't graduate because of his misconduct, so I gave gifts to the advisor, but he turned around and reported me, saying I was promoting unethical practices. I worked hard to manage the household, yet he said, "Don't be too utilitarian in life." After 60 years of marriage, all he did was avoid conflict and competition, but after I passed away, before the first week of mourning had even ended, he couldn't wait to marry his first love, writing. 60 years apart like the swallow and the oriole, a brocade letter cannot convey the song of longing. It made me so angry I came back to life. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day I got my marriage certificate at 23, hold the wedding, I'm going to take the postgraduate entrance exam. In an attempt to win me back, he said, I'm tired of repeating that my relationship with Yinna is innocent. I rolled my eyes and sneered, what the hell are you talking about? Strong bro. At the age of 83, I died of illness. Before my first week memorial had even passed, my husband, with whom I had spent 60 years, ostentatiously married his first love, Xia Yin. You made me laugh with anger. Xia Yin was far worse than me when she was young. And now she's even uglier in old age. You must be really desperate to go for that, old man. Got to shut up. Upon careful reflection, there are many suspicious points between Lin Cheng and Shireen. They maintained intermittent contact for a full 60 years, and in the end, they managed to outlive me. He married her and they moved into the house I bought. The living room was so full of guests that there was no room to stand. To make space for their wedding photos and red candles, they simply moved my memorial portrait out. Lin Cheng showed no sign of having lost his wife. He was beaming with joy, of course. He was marrying the woman he loved most in his life. I still remember when we got married, he said, there's no need for a wedding banquet. My personal marriage isn't a big deal, it's not worth wasting everyone's time and energy. Now that I think about it, he probably looked down on me, thinking that marrying a woman like me, who reeks of money, was too shameful. So it had to be done secretly, to protect his reputation. In gratitude to the guests, Lin Cheng played the qin, while Xia Yin danced to the music. He played slowly, and she moved with unsteady steps, truly resembling a couple who had endured hardships and finally reconciled. I have been with him for 60 years, and he never once played the qin for me. I once asked him to, but he said, the qin should be played for a true confidant. It turns out that his confidant was always Xia Yin, from beginning to end. Lin Cheng, your first wife is watching from the heavens. I wanted to scream, to roar, but no sound came out. It was time for the speech. With tears in his eyes, he said, Zhao Minute is too pragmatic. I've lived my whole life feeling so exhausted, and I haven't followed my true heart. Yinna has a gentle and serene personality, and she was truly my perfect match. If it weren't for Zhao Min's coercion, we would have been together long ago. Fortunately, we still have a chance now, not too late. Xia Yin, I love you. In this life, I am only your husband. The elderly man and woman held each other's hands tightly. Gazing at each other's wrinkled, aged faces, Lin Cheng's expression showed a tenderness I had never seen before. I suddenly realized how ridiculous I had been. After marriage, I called him husband, but he frowned and asked me to call him by his name directly, saying it was too mushy. I never heard him say, I love you while he was alive. After his death, I heard him say it to another woman. Finally, amid everyone's blessings, he wrote in proper regular script, 60 years of separation. A love letter cannot express the song of longing. With one sentence, he negated all the toil I had endured over the years. Every minute of those 60 years, he never stopped thinking about his first love. The soul originally has no tears, but as I laughed, I suddenly felt my cheeks grow wet. Very well. I am truly a blind fool. I cried my heart out, for the 60 years that were betrayed can never return. Suddenly, my heart clenched, and I passed out from the pain. When I woke up again, it was the day we had gotten our marriage certificate. That year, I was only 23, my family was well off, my father worked in the transportation system, and my mother came from a family of scholars and was a renowned painter. Lin Cheng came from a humble background. Having made it to University A from a small county town, I have always admired the serene and indifferent to fame and fortune aura about him. And it took me a year to win him over. I took him to meet my parents, but they did not approve of our marriage. Lin Cheng stood up and left, telling me not to contact him again, as he did not want to be seen as someone who marries for social advancement. I knelt before my parents, crying and pleading, repeatedly assuring them that he was truly an ambitious and outstanding young man who would never rely on his family after marriage. As soon as my parents relented, I went to find Lin Cheng with the good news. He responded indifferently, saying, "Is that so? Actually, you didn't have to do that. It's not like I'm desperate to marry you." At the time, I thought he must have been upset, so I did everything I could to cheer him up. He reluctantly agreed. All right. Right after graduation, he got married and tried to find a job, but he was always let go before even finishing the probation period. He had a high opinion of himself, believing that as a graduate of a prestigious university, he shouldn't be doing menial tasks. He also had a habit of meddling in others' affairs and couldn't stand seeing his superiors reprimand their subordinates, often stepping in to interfere. His resume was not considered outstanding in City A. His parents said they absolutely wouldn't help us, but behind the scenes, they quietly pulled strings for him, hoping he could land a good job and that I could also have a better life. He managed to offend every one of his parents' friends. In the end, neither private companies nor state-owned enterprises wanted him for any decent position. In City A, he simply couldn't find a job. He's still complaining at home. Those people are so full of official airs. Each one of them is practically a parasite of society. I would never be like them. Just like them, I would rather live a hasty life than compromise my integrity. I feel sorry for him. Why don't you try furthering your studies? Leave the responsibility of supporting the family to me. So he ate my food and drank my drinks, then went back to school to study. During his Ph.D. studies, he almost failed to graduate because he contradicted his supervisor over a minor issue. I put aside everything I was doing, apologized to the supervisor, and even gave many gifts. He actually reported the supervisor, who accepted the gifts behind my back, which ended up causing an awkward situation that my father had to step in to resolve. He frowned at me, seemingly thinking he was in the right, and even seemed disappointed in me, saying, "You're just encouraging this kind of misconduct." This time I finally couldn't hold back. "What have you contributed to this family since we got married?" He sprang to his feet. "All you care about is money. Money, money. How could I have married a woman like you? Our son was born, and you weren't at home taking care of him, always out and about. Who knows what you were doing? That's just how I am." Lin Cheng, if you're vain and obsessed with power and status, go ahead and chase it yourself. I later felt some regret, thinking I had gone too far and hurt his self-esteem. So I even lowered my head to apologize, to make it up to him. When he was up for a professional title evaluation, I swallowed my pride and went to ask my uncle for help. It's fair to say that all the smooth sailing in his life was given by me. Without me, he wouldn't have become a renowned professor. Of course, he has the right to act indifferent and detached, because all the family expenses fell on me, and all the under-the-table connections were. I took the fall for him, of course. He didn't have to humble himself to make things work, because I bore all the grievances. But with me dead, he achieved success, got promoted, made a fortune, and lost his wife. Just the perfect time to rekindle things with his first love. Just sign here. Suddenly snapping back to reality, the staff member in front of me handed me a pen, signaling me to sign the marriage registration form. I tilted my head slightly and saw Lin Cheng sitting beside me. His expression indifferent, not a trace of joy for the marriage on his face. For 60 years of marriage, he remained like this, never once smiling at me. I gently stroked my face, no longer bearing the wrinkles from all the hardships I endured for him. My skin was smooth and delicate, yet I had been betrayed. Youth has returned. Taking a deep breath, I threw the pen back onto the table. Let's postpone the wedding. I'm going back to prepare for the postgraduate entrance exam. Lin Cheng, whose face was usually as steady and unreadable as a corpse, finally showed a flicker of emotion. He frowned and asked, "What's all this about?" Those 3 simple words made me seem like the unreasonable one. Once he frowned, I would give in and then try to cheer him up. It happened so many times that even I began to believe it must have been my fault, that I had wronged the calm and composed Professor Lin, given the rare chance to live a second life. I'm not putting up with it anymore. I couldn't be bothered to say more, so I picked up my bag and left. Unexpectedly, Lin Cheng anxiously strode after me. Wait, Zhao minute. Let's get this straight. He grabbed my wrist, and I shuddered all over. To be honest, that contact with him made me utterly disgusted, to the point of feeling nauseous. I think I made myself quite clear just now. I shook off his hand and wiped mine on my pants. He noticed my movement, his pupils slightly contracting. You're not marrying me anymore. I suppressed the urge to curse. There were many people around, and if we made a scene, it would make the news. I said I want to take the postgraduate entrance exam. You'll understand, right? I looked straight at him. His face stiffened. Ah, right, of course. I smiled with satisfaction and turned to walk out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, bathing in the warm sunlight. I finally believed that I had truly come back to life. Wasn't 60 years of marriage a nauseating cage for me? I didn't break up with him because I still had lingering feelings for him. He has tormented me for 60 years. I will personally push him into the abyss. Saying I wanted to pursue graduate studies wasn't just an excuse. Having lived through a past life, I deeply understand how important it is for women to pursue education. With my excellent grades and numerous awards from major competitions, getting into graduate school through recommendation was never an issue. But to marry him, I gave up the opportunity for graduate school admission without exams. Found a job early, and worked diligently to support the family, only to be met with his words, like the swallow and the oriole flying apart, such an elegant insult. You wouldn't even understand it without a good education. There are still over 6 months left until the graduate entrance exams. So there's still time. My mother called to ask about the situation. Wasn't it you who insisted on marrying him? What's going on? Hearing her voice after so long, my heart ached. I was a foolish romantic, causing my parents endless worry. Mom, I want to take advantage of my youth to further my education. It'll be useful in the future. Thinking back to my past life, when I faced a crucial promotion opportunity, my performance was outstanding, but I had to stop there because of my undergraduate degree. It still fills me with regret. My teeth are itching with frustration. My parents were immensely relieved and quickly sent me money, urging me to immediately sign up for a postgraduate entrance exam tutoring class so as not to delay my progress. Even if I don't work, my family's assets are enough to support me for a lifetime. But Lin Cheng is in a tough spot. Without my support, he can barely afford to eat. There is no connection between us. With his level of pride, it's impossible for him to call me first. I was desperate in my past life. But in this one, I've learned to take things lightly. The more you praise him, the more he acts shamelessly, as if he really thinks he's something special. He doesn't ask, I don't inquire. It's a perfect match. Just over a week had passed, and he couldn't hold back anymore. He called me, his voice cold and stern. That's about enough. Playing a little hard to get is cute, but know when to stop. I'm too busy. Preparing for the grad school entrance exam is more important, I replied casually. He was silent for a moment, then said, we can study together. I can even help you. We've all graduated, and the dorms are no longer available. He doesn't even have money for food, let alone renting a place. I almost laughed, but I remember my GPA was higher than yours, so I probably don't need to. He seemed to be holding back. I don't have money for food. How ironic. He doesn't like it when I bring up money, because I've always been the one to solve financial issues. Now it's his turn to worry about money. It's fine. Having money doesn't mean you can eat it. I threw his own words back at him. You can have some free meals. He was provoked by my remark and finally got angry. So what if your family is rich? Why do you always have to step on people's sore spots? I sighed. You have hands and feet. Why not just go find a job? This is nonsense. If he could stand the hardship of working a job, he wouldn't be broke. Don't think I can't make it without you. Zhao minute. He hung up the phone angrily. It turned out he really couldn't make it. He went to a fast food restaurant run by a friend, who reluctantly hired him out of respect for me. One day, a friend complained to me that Lin Cheng, who works as a waiter delivering food, made a mistake with a customer's drink. The customer complained a few times, and the words weren't very pleasant. He then poured the entire drink over the customer's head. I asked my friend to send me the video and personally posted it online. The video was shared over 10 million times within just one day of its release, earning the new nickname Fast Food Madman. My friend fired Lin Cheng, but I thought it wasn't enough. Deduct another month's salary as compensation for the shop. My friend laughed mockingly. What? Not feeling sorry for your good boyfriend anymore? This would make him work a whole month for nothing. If I let him successfully get the money, I wouldn't be Zhao Minute. Lin Cheng didn't have a penny to his name and was kicked out. He used to have food and lodging provided, but now he had nowhere to go. He contacted me again. Min, I tried working, but it didn't work out. Every time he messed up at work, he would call me in that greasy way. I was infatuated back then. As soon as he said it, my heart softened, and I cleaned up his mess for him. It's fine. You're famous now. You can do live streaming sales. How is this not a way to make a name for yourself? Seeing that I wasn't taking the bait and was even mocking him, he gritted his teeth and said, "How could I ever be with a woman like you? Whoever wants to deal with him can go ahead. I'm too lazy to put up with his attitude anymore." Sure enough, he went looking for Xia Yin, who was more in tune with him. Xia Yin attends a second-tier college across the street from our school, just a block away, but the gap in academic prestige is worlds apart. Lin Cheng is a genius from the remote mountains. And Xia Yin's ability to test her way out makes her quite the standout. She is a year younger than Lin Cheng, and he went to great lengths to help her with her college entrance exams. I was too naive, truly believing in their pure friendship. Fate brings enemies together. When I went back to school to handle some business, Xia Yin brought Lin Cheng a meal, and the three of us ran into each other, out of sight, out of mind. I lifted my foot, ready to walk past. Xia Yin stopped me. "Sis Minute. Isn't this enough? Brother Lin has suffered a lot lately." I raised my eyelids. "Has being the other woman clouded your judgment? How dare you come up and guilt-trip the one who's been wronged?" Upon hearing this, her eyes welled up with tears. "How could you say that?" Lin Cheng shielded her. "If you have a problem, come at me. You're just being overly suspicious. There's nothing between us. I've said it so many times. I'm tired of it." I didn't want to curse, but he walked right into it. "What the hell are you talking about, strong guy? Stop pretending to be the good guy." If I hadn't seen with my own eyes the sweet scene of their twilight romance after death, I would have been fooled by Lin Cheng again this time. Seeing them irritates me. They've turned my perfectly good life into a joke. Luckily, I was given a chance to start over instead of being sent straight to the underworld, or else I would have been laughed at by my best friend and scolded by my parents. Death. I left directly, not noticing Xia Yin's resentful glare. She is talented in singing and dancing, with a pure appearance, and was considered the campus belle in university. How could she not seek revenge after suffering such a great injustice from me? She wrote a lengthy post of thousands of words in her social circle, never mentioning my name. Yet every sentence alluded to me. She detailed how I took advantage of my position to bully and oppress an innocent girl from a small town. Her lackeys all helped her repost it, including Lin Cheng. He is so keen on upholding justice. How could he not help his favorite woman? Lin Cheng brings his own popularity, and the matter was posted online again. Netizens said, "We wronged the fast food guy. It turns out he was forced by his vain girlfriend. A talented man compelled to become the waiter. The crazy woman is so detestable. She bites anyone she catches, falsely accusing a pure and innocent good girl. This even escalated to discrimination by top-ranking students from the school against students from ordinary schools. It reached the ears of the school and my parents, and I was called in for a talk, with my mother coming along to accompany me. How did things get to this point? After the conversation, my mother pulled me aside. Her face full of concern. "A short essay without actual evidence won't get me punished by the school, but it will damage my reputation and affect my plans for graduate school and civil service exams. Don't worry, the innocent shouldn't get caught in the whirlpool of self-justification. You and Dad don't need to intervene. I'll speak up if I need to." Xia Yin is a minor internet celebrity who occasionally livestreams and makes money from the gifts she receives. She deliberately guided the situation, and my personal information was leaked. My phone was flooded with calls, and my social media was filled with abusive private messages. After returning, I removed my SIM card and shut down all social media platforms. I registered a new phone number and created a bunch of alternate accounts. I carefully reviewed Xia Yin's account, where she often flaunts gifts from fans, and I took screenshots for evidence. My best friend told me she has Shireen's WeChat. I noticed some items she posted in her moments look a lot like the ones that mysteriously disappeared from me. There were bracelets, earrings, and even the birthday gift Lin Cheng gave me last year. He gave me a necklace last year. Though it wasn't expensive, he had saved up to buy it, and I was deeply touched. I wore it every day and never took it off. One day he came to my house and then disappeared. I disliked the dormitory conditions and lived outside. Occasionally, I would invite Lin Cheng to my place to hang out and cook for him, but he was always reluctant, saying, "It's improper to go to the other person's house before marriage." I thought, it's not the Qing dynasty anymore, and we are in a normal relationship, so what's the big deal? After thinking for a long time, I realized that every time Lin Cheng came to my place, some small pieces of jewelry would go missing. I'm not particularly fond of tidying up, and my room is always a mess. If something gets lost, it gets lost. It's not like they were very valuable anyway, but it's really disgusting that my boyfriend would steal my things to give to someone else. There's no need to give gifts on holidays. You don't lack these things anyway. Holidays are just consumer traps. He says that, but he still accepts everything I give him. He withholds all the gifts I gave him. Last year, he bought me something, and I thought he had a change of heart. Little did I know he was just waiting to take it back. I never expected to go blind at such a young age, and it was so obvious. Yet in my past life, I never noticed it at all. Perhaps I was too blindly confident, just as I was beating my chest in frustration over my own foolishness. There was a knock at the door. Through the video doorbell, I saw Lin Cheng standing outside with a pile of things in his hands. The doorbell allowed for communication, but I didn't want to open the door. What a rare guest. In the past, I couldn't get you to come even if I invited you. He looked around left and right, as if he were going to an unlicensed massage parlor and was afraid of being spotted by someone he knew. I had no idea that being with me was such a burden for him. Open the door first. I'm speechless. Put the things down and leave. Min, I came to see how you're doing. He suppressed his temper and condescended. Slap someone and then offer a sweet date. This trick wasn't invented by him, so why is he so sure I'll accept it? I'm not dead, so you can rest assured. At most, he couldn't keep up the act for 3 sentences. Enough, you've already faced retribution for insulting Yin for no reason. I will let Yin clarify. Qing, don't make the same mistake again. After all, we are still a couple, so you shouldn't pursue graduate studies anymore. Hurry up and marry me so we can settle down early. A woman should learn to. What's the use of history? You need to have a home. I'm moving in tomorrow. Let's try living together first. What a huge favor. That made me laugh. How can you be so shameless? Do you think netizens will just believe whatever you two say? What they want is evidence. You talk so much. But all that glib talk just earned you the nickname Fast Food King. He was so angry his face turned red. I gave you a way out and you refused to take it. Do you really think your family's stinking money can make this go away? You're really acting like you're the victim. What's your excuse? Isn't it Yin who's been wronged? I didn't want to say more to him. It would be a waste of breath. I called security, and there was a commotion outside. Suddenly, he pressed against the door and shouted, "Jiao Minute, have you come back too?" I was startled. The words were strange. My phone suddenly pushed an article to me with the title, "People awaken memories that don't belong to them when stimulated." Thud. The phone fell to the ground. Just now, I had deliberately provoked him, and then security came and chased him away as if he were a thief. He had never suffered such a humiliating disgrace, perhaps in a fit of rage. Under extreme emotions, he awakened memories of his past life. Not long after he left, I opened my phone again and found that Xie Yin's social media posts were all hidden. He woke up too late. I had already saved everything. I suddenly felt a bit excited. Beating him with an information advantage was nothing special, but trampling him underfoot in his second life. Wouldn't that be even more satisfying, exciting, under such fair conditions? What new tricks could my seemingly indifferent husband possibly come up with? Time was tight, so I quickly compiled the records of my spending in Lin Cheng and screenshots of Xie Yin's social media posts into a PDF. I like to keep receipts for everything I buy, so I have evidence for every single thing he stole. One coincidence doesn't mean much, but if everything matches up, it speaks volumes. During the days when I had a falling out with Lin Cheng, I wasn't idle either. I often followed him to see what he was up to. He is a complete freeloader through and through, and there's no changing that. When he couldn't mooch off me anymore, he latched onto Shireen. I secretly took quite a few photos. I went through all the gifts that Shireen had posted, and each time, the most prominent spot was occupied by luxury handbags. These aren't something ordinary fans could afford. She's just a minor celebrity with a few thousand followers, and her daily expenses are already quite high. Where does she get the money to buy so many bags? I sent pictures of all these bags to my best friend to look at. She's the most knowledgeable about brands and can tell the real from the fake at a glance. Damn, all of this is true, but it feels a bit familiar. Wang Yu seems to have bought these bags before. I heard he gave them to his girlfriend. She's always the most gossipy. Wang Yu has been our classmate since we were kids. He's a rich second-generation heir. I found out he actually posted about buying bags for his girlfriend. After cross-checking, it turned out to be almost all true. Lin Cheng has been reborn, so he's not an easy target, but Xie Yin probably can't handle the pressure. After thinking it through, I inserted my original SM card and openly added Xie Yin on WeChat. Her message was dripping with smugness. Is Sister Minmin here to apologize? It's okay, I forgive you. I smirked. I'm afraid it's you who will be kneeling and begging me, your daddy, to spare you. I sent the PDF over. Take a good look. You were pretending to be pitiful and lying. But I have evidence. Also, you didn't expect that Wang Yu and I were elementary school classmates. Did you want me to send over the details about you and Lin Cheng? Wang Yu wants. He knows you're using his money to support another man outside, and you know better than I do how he would react. In a moment, the phone call came through. Zhao Minute, what do you want to do? Her voice trembled uncontrollably. I watched as the fish took the bait. First, don't tell Lin Cheng about what happened today. Second, apologize to me on all platforms. Okay, I promise you, I'll break things off with Brother Cheng. She pleaded repeatedly. Unfortunately, I never keep my promises to green tea types. I embellished the details about Lin Cheng and Xie Yin, and even sent all our chats and call records to Wang Yu. He was drinking outside and got so angry upon hearing what someone said that he smashed the table on the spot. Xie Yin is going to have a hard time now. This second-generation heir not only forced Xie Yin to apologize to me but also ordered her to go live and confess everything about deceiving his feelings and framing me. Chu, Wang Yu stormed into Xie Yin's school due to the excessively large amount of money involved. She was suspected of fraud and was directly expelled. She had struggled with all her might to escape poverty, only to lose everything in an instant. This time, Lin Cheng learned his lesson and kept silent. The anger of netizens was entirely directed at Xie Yin, while he managed to stay out of the spotlight and was largely unaffected. After the matter had quieted down for a while, he issued a statement, still the classic "I only see her as a little sister." He recounted how he helped her get into college and maintained appropriate boundaries in their interactions, with no overly intimate behavior. Surprisingly, some so-called friends even took his side and spoke up for him. He hasn't lived in vain after all. He recently learned how to handle things. He abandoned his usual aloofness and took the initiative to treat his roommates and club colleagues to a meal. The money was definitely taken from Xie Yin, so, in a roundabout way, he used Wang Yu's money to clear his own name. With their mouths softened by the meal, they couldn't help but speak up for him after eating. Netizens also judged him to be an innocent good man deceived by Xie Yin that day. As soon as I went downstairs, I saw Lin Cheng leaning against the wall waiting for me. I looked back and saw that the security camera was only a meter away, and the security booth was also nearby. He wouldn't dare to do anything. What is it? I spoke first. Lin Cheng approached, his aura noticeably different. Minmin, I have to say, you are a good wife. You've changed me a lot. Indeed, your techniques have been very effective. He always had a high opinion of himself, and now that he's been reborn, he's practically floating on air. I smiled faintly. Of course, stray dogs only get to eat what others leave behind. Would you like me to chew it up and feed it to you? Don't be so stubborn with your words now. As expected of an over 80-year-old man, Lin Cheng was much more emotionally stable. You're just angry that I married Xie Yin after you passed away. I already know I was wrong. This time, we are united as husband and wife, which is naturally different from our previous life. He reached out his hand to me. I directly spat the chewed gum in my mouth onto his palm. Stop flattering yourself. After failing to get a promotion in my previous life, I started my own business, which unexpectedly became very successful. Everything went smoothly, and even Lin Cheng began to live a life of wealth and comfort. He is no longer the poor boy who crawled out of the mountains. He has grown accustomed to a life of luxury and can't bear the slightest hardship, otherwise. He wouldn't have pretended to be friendly with me. Making an honest living is too hard, it's much easier to live off others. That's the lesson he learned in his 80 years of life. Lin Cheng glared at me furiously, the bubblegum in his hand neither thrown away nor kept. Zhao minute, this is the last time, you give. I'll be waiting. Then he turned and left, his like chewed gum, useless and clingy. He couldn't afford to take a year off to prepare for graduate school, so he had to find a job first. But what I didn't expect was that he managed to win the heart of Miss Yang, a wealthy heiress, by living frugally, and naturally ended up working in her family's company. It's truly a cause for celebration. At least he has a decent appearance to rely on. A leopard can't change its spots. His tendency to be a social climber probably won't change even after 3 lifetimes. Only by sending him to hell and into the animal realm can he stop causing harm to people. Miss Yang doesn't care about those rumors and his past. She firmly believes there must be a misunderstanding, and her dear boyfriend is simply a man of no desires or ambitions who avoids conflicts with others. She specifically sought me out for this and arranged to meet me at a cafe. Miss Zhao, you and A Cheng had some unpleasantness in the past, but all that is behind us now. She was referring to the fact that because of me, Lin Cheng has been struggling in the industry. Before, no company would take him. Now that Young Corporation has hired him, he hasn't been performing well, and it's hard to explain to Mr. Young. The salary he demanded is not low. After I was admitted to graduate school, my advisor often took me into the group to work on projects. Lin Cheng overestimates himself and always likes to compete with the group I'm in. He's a good for nothing, yet he can't even recognize it himself. In his previous life, that professor of his was a fraud. Relying on my money and connections, his so-called experience is only applicable in the lab and classroom, and simply cannot be scaled up for mass production, which is why Young's company has been losing money. I always felt that after his rebirth, he became blindly overconfident. Perhaps even losing the drive he once had. There's no way around it. Even with the Young family backing him, he couldn't secure a single deal. I set down the coffee, the rich bitterness spreading in my mouth. You're overthinking it. I just didn't let him use the back door like I used to, because now I have you, of course. My parents dote on me. After finding out that Lin Cheng was a despicable scoundrel, they didn't hesitate to interfere. I didn't stop them. I couldn't let their efforts go to waste. My feelings, in short, he and I are getting married, so let bygones be bygones. I apologize on his behalf for the mistakes he made, said Miss Yang. She stood up and bowed. I also stood up, stepping aside to avoid accepting the gesture. Lin Cheng has become quite shrewd. He knows how to win people over now. I looked at the ring on her finger. She smiled sheepishly. Yes, he treats me very well. If he treats you so well, would he give you a fake? I raised an eyebrow. My mother has a collection of items, including jewelry, so I've learned through observation and experience, and my ability to appreciate jewelry is higher than the average person's. I dare to guarantee this is a fake, but he really put effort into it for you. This counterfeit is a high-quality imitation that ordinary people can't tell apart. Come, Miss Young awkwardly covered her fingers. He must have been tricked by someone. I'll talk to him when I get back. He is a man. If even an apology has to be made on his behalf, it's hard to imagine how marrying him could bring any hope for the future. I gave her advice from experience, but unfortunately, she didn't take it. When I heard about them again, the whole city ever knew about it. The Young family's daughter was pregnant before marriage, and Mr. Young was furious. He did not agree to his daughter's marriage to the poor young man. As a result, Lin Cheng was bold enough to get his daughter pregnant. Using the child to force a confrontation, I sighed repeatedly. At least he used to be a hypocrite, but now that he's shed that skin, he's worse than a beast. He drove his luxury car and once again showed up at the entrance of my apartment building. Zhao minute. Why don't you understand the principle of not bullying the young and poor? I sneered, as if watching a dog in its death throes, and whispered, you know what, I thought you still had a conscience, but I was overthinking it. Your words won't provoke me. I'm not a reckless kid anymore. Learning from you was the right move. Using every means to achieve my goal feels so good. His eyes were filled with a greedy light. I shook my head. Learn from me. He was a bad seed to begin with. It was desire that lit the fuse in his heart. And all the evil burst forth. It's your own doing. What does it have to do with me? The evil may have a foot of height, but the way has a yard, he laughed. Zhao Minute. I'm waiting for you to kneel and beg me. I watched his retreating figure. How could I just stand by and watch him devour the Yang family's legacy? What he didn't know was that I had accounted for everything he stole, but I had been holding back from taking action. After being disciplined, Xie Yin became much more obedient and willingly came forward to testify. But Lin Cheng is as tenacious as a cockroach, and Miss Yang, for the sake of the child in her womb, will protect him. We met again at the same coffee shop as last time, and this time, I was the one who asked her out. She has a simple mind and holds no ill will toward me, her ex. It's clear that she's a poor girl who genuinely loves that scumbag. When is the wedding date? She smiled shyly. The 15th of next month. I nodded and handed the phone to her. Her face instantly turned pale. Miss Zhao, I can return all the money to you. I beg you. I tapped my fingers on the table. I don't need this money. But I don't want scum like him to get away with it. What will you gain from marrying him and having this child? Because of a criminal father, the child will lose everything they deserve, the opportunity. The more I spoke, the paler her face became, as if she could barely hold on. Take care of yourself too. I'm not targeting you or the child in your womb. This kind of person cannot stay, for your sake and mine. Just as she was about to speak and continue pleading with me, I handed her a craft paper bag. I didn't want to upset you again, but I have to make things clear today. She flipped through the documents over and over, then slammed them heavily on the table, burying her head in her hands and sobbing. How could he do this to me? I loved him so much. Lin Cheng had tasted a life of luxury, and his appetite had grown. These are the dual contracts he signed with the Yang family, siphoning off hundreds of millions of funds from them. If I hadn't secretly investigated and discovered the irregularities in the Yang family's accounts, it would have been Miss Yang's father who took the blame. Once her father is implicated, her entire life would truly be at the mercy of Lin Cheng. Even after all this, you still want to shield him. I gently shattered the last line of defense in her heart. She was so infatuated with love that she lost all sense of boundaries. In my past life, she took away my miserable existence. Yet I feel no relief or joy. Now, patiently persuading her and pulling her out of the quagmire is also a way of saving my past self. I reported it to the police on charges of theft. With both witnesses and evidence present, he was summoned several times before he finally showed up, arriving late. His nonchalant demeanor suggested he thought the Yang family would back him up. Zhao Minute, don't waste your efforts. My time is precious. His entire outfit had gone up several notches in quality. Yet he bought counterfeit goods for Miss Yang. She gave him her whole heart, while he gave her fakes. I really didn't expect that. Even though we were in a relationship at the time, you could be so stingy, making such a big deal out of such a small matter. His attitude of treating money like dirt came out again. I'm willing to return all the money to you, as a blessing, for the child about to be born. It has to be said, after he entered society, he didn't learn anything substantial. But he certainly mastered the art of being two-faced. Everything here is being recorded, so please watch what you say. Do you still think you have money? Still so fond of dreaming? I clapped my hands. Lin Cheng took a few steps back, his face filled with shock and doubt. What did you say? He's become much sharper. But unfortunately, it's too late. Miss Yang walked in, a mere child trying to take over the Yang family. I wish I could tear your tendons and drink your blood. She stepped forward, she slapped him several times directly, completely stunned him. Clutching his swollen cheek, he asked in disbelief, "What's wrong with you? We have seen through your scheme." I threw the documents in front of him. Although Lin Cheng is foolish, he still has some cunning tricks up his sleeve. As the saying goes, a crafty rabbit has 3 burrows. He had long prepared an escape route abroad, planning to abscond with the money and leave the mess for the Yang family, thus evading justice. Rushing to arrest him would only startle the snake in the grass. It's better to use the theft as bait to lure the snake out of its hole, leaving him no chance to escape. Seeing that the situation was beyond his control, Lin Cheng knelt on the ground and said, "You set me up, very well. If you had known it would come to this, why did you do it in the first place?" I lowered my gaze to look at him. He burst into wild laughter, suddenly stood up, and pulled out a small knife to stab at me. "If you won't let me live in peace, then you can die." A police officer acted swiftly, kicking him away with one foot. His knife flew out of his hand, grazing my cheek. It didn't hurt, but a drop of blood seeped out and trickled down to my neck. This barely counted as an injury, but for him, it was another crime added to his record. With the efforts of my parents and the Young family, he was eventually sentenced to life imprisonment, destined to grow old and die behind bars, a person as serene as a chrysanthemum, with words and actions not always in harmony, is still better than one with a wicked heart. He never expected that his cleverness would backfire, leaving him worse off than in his previous life. Miss Young suffered a major setback in love, saying she might never have the courage to marry again. She loves children and cannot bear to part with this one. No matter who the child's father is, it is always your child, and no one can change that. If you want to keep it, then do so. Later, she took my advice and gave birth to the child, who grew up healthy and strong. After repeated persuasion from my advisor, I decided to pursue a PhD. During my studies, I started a business. With experience from my past life and a solid accumulation of knowledge, the company was already thriving by the time I graduated. Back on track, it suddenly dawned on me that I could have had everything all along. On my way home from work that day, I encountered a shabbily dressed old Taoist priest on the street. I casually bought him some food at a convenience store. He took it and began to devour it ravenously. Suddenly, he looked up at me, his dim, aged eyes gleaming sharply. "You are someone who returned from the underworld, unwilling to accept your fate." I neither confirmed nor denied it. He smacked his lips and continued, "And you've brought someone back with you. Ha ha ha, how amusing. Retribution for retribution, grievances repaid with grievances, vengeance for vengeance. No one can escape, even in death. You'll be dragged back, suffering and hardship. This is the cycle of the world." As soon as he finished speaking, he vanished. I wasn't afraid, just felt a sense of wonder. Since then, I have always done good deeds, believing that only by leaving something meaningful behind is it worth returning. I always repay grievances, but there are things in life more important than revenge. That's all for today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave a comment below. See you in the next video.